What's going on, guys? Rockley AC here, back again with another fun deck profile. Today I bring you guys the blue monster himself, Janemba. And no, it's not Janemba Mill. It's actually the crit version of Janemba, the leader that we haven't seen much play anytime really. This leader is a different leader than the Mill leader that we're all used to, the degenerate pass, Mill, win the game through attrition. This deck is actually a little bit more active, and it's a little twist on the whole Janemba engine. So let's get started. So, the main premise of this deck is to basically interrupt a lot of your opponent's plays in terms of strategy and forcing them to do things that they don't want to do, and capitalizing on fun little tricks that can annoy your opponent. So again, a lot of these deck profiles are more so casual. I don't expect any of these decks that I upload to be super competitive unless you include certain cards that are a little bit more pricey, maybe hard to attain, and fix up your ratios and whatnot. So today we're going to go over the blue Janemba leader. He is not the mill version. Let's take a look at this leader and see what he does. So on the front side, we have Janemba. Burst 2, when he attacks any card, draw a card. And then when your life is at 4 or less, you may flip this card over and untap 2 of your energy. So he becomes Supreme Evil Janemba. So for those who haven't seen this, this was from Miraculous Revival, set 5. Auto Sparking 5, so you have to have at least 5 cards in your drop zone, which is very easy with the burst ability. When this card attacks, it gains plus 5k power and critical for the duration of the turn. And then activate main. This is the most important effect of this leader. You could choose one card from your hand and place it in the drop area during this turn. And when your opponent activates counterplay, they choose 3 cards from their hand and places them in the drop area. So this, I think, was an overlooked effect that not a lot of people kind of took the time to adventure and put a lot of energy into it. But I could definitely see why there are a lot of decks that overshadow this type of Janemba leader. But this effect is super strong, especially in an age of counterplay decks, especially Surge, Piccolo, decks that don't really want to do much. But depending on the format, this may or may not be relevant, but it's still a very powerful effect and allows you to play certain cards and force your opponent to do some weird, tricky plays. So let's go ahead with the deck profile. Let's start off with 3 Beerus. This is a blue and yellow build, so this is not going to be your typical mono blue / Janemba engine. It's actually going to be more of a blue-yellow tap effect kind of deck. So you need your multicolor cards. Beerus, he charges your multicolor energies for a blue and yellow. Really good turn 1 play. You don't have to run 4 if you don't want to. Negates. 4 Dimension Magics, one of the best negates in the game. Untap your energy. You have 5 cards in your drop zone by turn 2 or 3, so you could activate the Sparking. Very good negate. Speaking of good negates, Internal Energy Shift. This is one of the new cards from the draft box set. This card is essentially 2 for 1, 3 for 1 type of thing if you look at it. So basically it's a counterplay, you negate the attack. Then you get to look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and if it's a battle card, you untap one of your battle cards and you untap one of your blue energy. So it's very powerful actually. So you could negate an attack, you could get information from your opponent's deck, what they're going to be drawing into next, and also being able to untap a card, which is really important in this deck. You'll see what cards you want to untap with this ability. Next, super combo of choice for Zamasu. Such a strong super combo in this deck, especially what you're going to be using as a rival, as well as just tapping cards is so strong. That's a very powerful effect in any type of card game where you could just control your opponent's mana. It's very, very important, and just to control the field. Next, 2 Ultra Instinct Goku's Kamehameha. This card is also very powerful. It's your pseudo super combo. It's a 15k power. If all your energy is blue, you get the extra added effect. If it's your turn to use it, you draw a card. Otherwise, on the defensive end, you get to untap blue energy. Next, for Senzu Bean, you're running blue, so might as well max out on the blue beans. Allows you to either go aggro or defensive. Next is 2 Frost Deadly Poison. You need cards in here that get rid of big bomb threats, or at least negates them. So Frost Daily Poison is the best counter play card for blue-yellow that you could use. Now I'm running a small Universe 9 engine. So you're going to be running Universe 9 Assembled. And what this card does is it gives you hand advantage in terms of drawing 2. You're always going to be drawing cards out of this. And then if your opponent's tapped out, you get that benefit of putting in a Universe 9 card, which you will synergize with these 2 cards. You have Row and Chapel. Basically, these are the cards from the Dropbox deck. Row's ability is when you attack, you get to tap on your opponent's mana, and Chapel, once per turn, when your opponent attacks, you get to tap one of their mana. So very annoying for your opponent to go against if they don't have answers to this, especially if you play this later game when you're awakened and you want to play this card and your opponent has to drop 3. It's very, very strong because they're going to be losing cards to their hand and they're also going to be losing energy, so they can't make those big boy plays if they want to drop something to maximize their energy. On to the rest of the battle cards. We got 3 Awakening Talent Pan. She's your main self-awakener. Don't need anything else really. All you need to just see her because she bounces back at the end of your turn. So you're not necessarily losing her on field like the crit Trunks or crit Gohan. So she's really good at self-awakening. She could also be put in backhand later for Arrival if you need to pitch a blue and yellow battle card out of your hand. Next, Tech Choice. 3 East Supreme Watch. She is awesome because she's a cantrip. She draws when you put her in play. And then also, for her effect, which I don't think a lot of people really paid too much attention to. Let's see if we can focus. During your turn, when your opponent plays a battle card, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places it at the bottom of their deck. So this synergizes with the leader's ability. When they counterplay, pretty much, you're going to be losing 4 cards if you have this card out and the leader. Very strong, really annoying for your opponent to get rid of, especially if they don't have any board removal cards that they want to waste, resources on. Next is 2 Obuni. This is your ideal turn 4 play. Able to put out 3 other bodies, a swing for 15k is very strong, forces your opponent to lose cards. It's literally just swing, 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 and you could do that with this deck. You could put out multiple threats per turn, and it's very, very annoying for your opponent, especially getting rid of Obuni. Next is the Arrival of Choice. You got 3 Bojacks. This is your blue-yellow Arrival for 1 yellow. Pair this up with a Super Combo Zamasu, and you're just tapping the 2 cards. They mill a card, and it's just super strong. And it also synergizes with another card that I am bringing out for the special win condition. 3 Son Goku Path to Infinite. So this is another tech choice because it meshes well with that Bojack and also another card, which I'll show you in a bit. But for 1 blue, you could pay 1 and send one of your 4-drop blue cards back to your hand to play this card. So you could swing with Bojack, pay the blue, bring it back so you could Bojack again next turn or later on, whatever have you. So you get a lot of value for just little energy. And then the main target that you're really trying to get out is Ultra Instinct Signed Son Goku. So this card has been around for a while, but it also catches a lot of people off guard, especially in different builds. People don't expect it much, and this could definitely throw your opponent off guard. When you play it, you send all the battle cards back to your opponent's hands, and your opponent can't combo for the rest of this card's attack. Very strong. The only cards that really stop this is hard negates, anything that could really force your opponent to stop this attack. But it prevents your opponent from really, really going all out with their whole field and wipes it out just for simply evolving over that cheap 5-cost Goku. Another finisher for the deck is 2 Hit in Cold Blood. I like this card a lot. It's just really, really fun to flip your opponent's leader back to the front ability. Sometimes people just give up from there, or they just get really, really annoyed, especially with your leader ability to stop counter plays in a way and just really, really force your opponent to do some awkward plays. Hit, when it comes into play, flip the opponent's leader ability. They can't weaken until the end of their next turn. And then also it reduces the counts for each blue and or yellow battle cards in your area. So you could bring this out on turn 4 for 2 yellow and 2 blue, depending on the battle card or depending on your field, and just really wreck your opponent from there. And it's also a triple strike, 30k, super strong, really good alternative win con. Another nice card that synergizes with the tap cards is Chilled the Cruel. This comes in play when you have 5 energy, and if you tap your opponent's cards, this comes in play for free. 25k double striker, another good way to finish off the deck. And the last card is SCR Black Smoke Dragon. You're milling off a couple cards off the top of your deck. First couple turns, maybe turn 2, turn 3, you'll have 6, 7 cards in your drop zone. By turn 5, you should have enough, especially with comboing out certain cards here or there, to summon the Black Smoke Dragon if you want to play that on turn 5 and then go in for the kill with the critical 5k pump from your leader. So that is the main deck. Now, basically, this has a couple good matchups and some bad matchups. And basically, the good out of this deck is that it's really great against counterplay decks because you're really forcing your opponent to lose cards out of their hand. Also, it forces your opponent to do some awkward plays such as the energy manipulation, your ability to crit cards out of your front side awaken ability so that you forces your opponent to combo out their hand. Also, like I mentioned, counterplay and the surprise endgame win cons such as the triple strike hit and also the triple strike ultra instinct Son Goku. So it has a lot of those going for it. Now there are some bad matchups, especially like red decks that counter that have inherent removal, such as Cooler that minus K's cards, exploding the weakness. Vegeta, since it can minus a whole board. You can build a board in this deck, and that's not hard, especially with the rival stuff and the Universe 9 assemble cards. Also, against stall decks that don't really put out battle cards, it doesn't really matter because they're not really swinging much. So you're not really going to interact with a lot of those counterplay situations. And just knowledge of the win con. I mean, if your opponent already knows that you have like a triple strike Son Goku in there, they're not going to really waste their negates early on. They're just going to save it for later. So a couple things. But the main strategy of this deck, basically turn 1, you want to charge a multicolor. Turn 2, you want to play Pan or East Kai, so establish that board. Or Universe 9 assembled if you have the color energy and if they're tapped out. Turn 3, you want to maybe have that rival Bojack in there. Also have Ro, Chapel, Universe 9 assembled in there. Turn 4, you're looking for the Ultra Instinct chain so that you could, go from Goku to take away your Bojack to summon the UI. Or you could also go into Boonie on turn 4 since it has Deflect. And then turn 5, you could finish off with UI chain. You could go into hits. You could go to Black Smoke Dragon. Different ways. So you have a couple different ways with a couple different win cons. Mostly this is to annoy your opponent. Counterplay decks and manipulate NG I thought was super fun. And this leader just didn't show enough love, at least into my eyes. So being able to force your opponent to think twice about counterplaying so that they lose 3 cards out of the hand is really powerful. You could also make a red and blue version with Topo and forcing your opponent to do that. Obviously, you could expand on this build to make it more competitive by adding like yellow apes, war cries, and all that. But basically, this is a nice little simple shell. If you guys have the cards to afford like the draft box stuff, like Obunis, I definitely recommend it. And give this a try, or let me know what kind of builds you're building for this kind of engine. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.